genius is a flower of great rarity that grows in the most unlikely places. Recognition of genius is an accolade that usually becomes a posthumous award. Certainly, this is true of the man called simply O.Henry, master of the tale with a twist, and one of the greatest storytellers of all time. The O.Henry Playhouse, dramatizing some of the most diverting stories ever told. How much is a fortune? Surely the most fascinating conjecture in the world. Personally, I've known times when a well-timed fiver would have filled the bill. I've also known a man to remain unmoved by the acquisition of a cool 100,000. All of which bears in the title of this story and the plaint of its young hero, What Can You Do with £1,000?
Nephew, you are a blithering idiot.
Yes, Uncle.
I shall cut you off.
Yes, Uncle.
With a shilling.
Of course, Uncle. That's practically obligatory.
Now get out.
Yes, Uncle. Oh, but before I go back
I
to town...
said out!
Oops! You've made your point, Uncle. Good night, Uncle.
Is Mr. Gillian calling for me, Mr. Gillian?
Bobby. No, he's throwing things at me. His aim's terrible, praise be. Oh, you look tired, Harriet.
Miss Hayden.
Well, she looks tired, too. Now, don't let the old boy push you around, Harriet.
Miss Hayden.
Oh, now, look. Seeing you're the ward of my Uncle Septimus, we're practically relations.
I must go and see if he wants me.
I admit calling you his ward is a typical Uncle Septimus trick to secure an unpaid skivvy, the old... No, you really do look tired, Harriet.
Mr. Gillian is very generous to you, Mr. Gillian.
Bobby. Awfully.
Very generous.
Well, he certainly keeps me in that state of life to which I've grown accustomed.
Exactly.
Namely, as a well-intentioned wastrel.
I wonder you aren't ashamed to admit it.
So pretty and so earnest, Harriet.
Miss Hayden.
It never seems to occur to you that my uncle needs me every bit as much as I need him. Well, now you ask me why.
I'm neither concerned nor interested.
Ouch. Uncle needs me to waste his money because he never wasted a brass razoo in his life. And through me, he can waste hundreds. Vicariously.
Yes, well,
He also needs me because he enjoys bawling people out, as you ought to know, being his chief victim. And if I didn't waste money, he couldn't bawl me out.
I suppose it would be too much to ask you to admit, Mr. Gillian, that you waste money on champagne and actresses and things, because that's the kind of person you are.
Ah, can you name me some better ways of wasting money?
Excuse me, Mr. Gillian, I at least have work to do.
Harriet. Miss Hayden. Oh, dear, I open my mouth and these things just pop out. Harriet. Miss Hayden. So pretty and so earnest, little Harriet.
In the fullness of time, Uncle Septimus died, as rich uncles eventually must. Now, for some heirs presumptive, eventually is always too long, but not, I assure you, for our young hero. Bobby was really very fond of the old boy, but being Bobby, hid the fact under a grin and a swagger as he breezed into Lawyer Tolman's office a few days after the unhappy event.
Sit down, Mr. Gillian.
Oh, any reason we can't stick to Bobby as always, Mr. Tolman?
Sit down, Mr. Gillian.
Yes, sir.
I've asked you to come here privately to hear the contents of your late uncle's will, out of consideration for your feelings.
Oh, dear. The proverbial shilling?
No, not quite. Shall I read you the document in toto?
Oh, no, thanks. No, you can spare me all that legal mumbo-jumbo. Just give me the facts and keep it simple. I'm never very bright at this time of the morning.
Very well. I shall simplify the salient points for your understanding.
That's the ticket. The simpler the better.
Apart from one or two individual bequests to the household staff and one to yourself, the bulk of the late Mr. Septimus Gillian's fortune has been left to endow medical research.
It has, eh? The shilling. Oh, well, that's that then. What about Harriet?
Harriet? Oh, you mean Mr. Septimus Gillian's ward, Miss Hayden.
Well, the old boy remembered her decently, didn't he?
To Miss Harriet Hayden, the sum of £100 and a seal ring.
£100? The miserable old skinflint.
Now, Mr. Gillian.
Well, I'm sorry, but he is. Was. Well, I mean, hang it all. If anyone ever earned a decent bequest, it's Harriet.
I should have expected, Mr. Gillian, that you would be interested in the bequest your uncle has made to you, his sole relative.
Oh, of course I'm interested, but it's an outrage. That girl positively slaved for the old...
Mr. Gillian.
All right. What did Uncle leave me, his sole relative?
£1,000.
What?
The sum of £1,000 in toto, which I am now empowered to pay to you.
1,000? Oh, dear old Uncle Septimus, what a sense of humour. Well, I mean, why 1,000?
Here is the full sum in £100 notes. Now, Mr. Gillian, there is a proviso.
There is, eh?
Yes, you are required under the terms of the will to render me an account of the manner of expenditure of this £1,000 as soon as you have disposed of it.
Render you a what?
A properly itemized account. I advise you to comply exactly with your uncle's wishes on this matter.
Well, of course I'll comply with it if that's what Uncle wanted. In spite of the extra expense involved.
Expense, Mr. Gillian?
Oh, I may have to engage a secretary. I was never any good at accounts.
Oh, come now.
1,000? That's a confoundedly odd amount. That's a confoundedly awkward amount. I mean, if it had been 10,000, a fellow might wind up with a lot of fireworks and do himself credit. Even 50 would be less trouble. Or the good old shilling.
I'll ask you to sign this receipt, Mr. Gillian, accepting both the amount and the terms of the proviso.
1,000. Now, what the devil can a fellow do with £1,000? Now, really, old Bryson, how on earth can I talk to you when you bury your nose in that newspaper?
I've told you before, Gillian, 40 years old only to the young and immature.
Oh, Bryson, I've a funny story to tell you.
Yes, well, I wish you'd tell it to someone in the billiard room. You know how I hate your stories.
Oh, this is a better one than usual. It's too sad and funny to go with the rattling of billiard balls. I've just come from my late uncle's firm of legal corsairs. He leaves me an even £1,000. Now, what can a man possibly do with £1,000?
I thought that the late Septimus Gillian was worth something like £1 million.
He was. And that's where the joke comes in. He's left his whole cargo of doubloons to a microbe.
Eh?
Well, part of it goes to the man who invents a new bacillus, and the rest to establish a hospital for doing away with it again. Now, there are one or two trifling bequests on the side. The butler and the housekeeper get a seal ring and 100 each, and his nephew gets 1,000.
Now, you've always had plenty of money to spend.
Oh, tons. Uncle was the fairy godmother as far as an allowance was concerned.
Any other heirs?
None. Oh, I was forgetting. There's a Miss Hayden, a ward of my uncle's, who lived in the house. Now, she's a quiet thing, musical, and daughter of somebody who was unlucky enough to be his friend. Well, I forgot to say she's in on the seal ring and the 100 joke, too. I wish I'd been.
Indeed.
Then I could have turned on a good shindig, tipped the waiter with the ring, and had the whole business off my hands.
Yes, that would be all.
Now, don't be superior and insulting, old Bryson. Tell me what a fellow can do with £1,000.
1,000, eh? Well, now, 1,000 can mean a lot or a little. One man could send his wife south with it and save her life. You could count on a half-hour's diversion with it at chemin de fer. Yeah, it would furnish a reasonable education for an ambitious boy. And I'm told that a genuine Corot was secured for that amount in an auction room yesterday by some lucky blighter.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then, of course, you could move into the country on it and live respectably for 6 months.
What a joke.
You could rent the Albert Hall for one evening with it and lecture your audience, if you should have one, on the precariousness of the profession of heir presumptive.
People might like you, old Bryson, if you wouldn't moralize. I asked you to tell me what to do with £1,000.
You? Why, Bobby Gillian, there's only one logical thing you could do. You can go buy Miss Lotta Laurier a diamond bracelet with the money, and then take yourself off to Australia and inflict your presence upon a farm. And I advise a sheep farm, as I have a particular dislike for sheep.
Thanks. I thought I could depend on you, old Bryson. You've hit on the very scheme. I wanted to chuck the money in a lump, since I've got to turn in an account for it, and I hate itemizing.
Wait, this is all the money you have in the world?
Why, of course.
And you want to get rid of it?
Yes. And what luck, it's Wednesday. That means Lotta's playing a matinee. A cheerio. I knew I could count on you, old Bryson.
Well, you'll have to hurry. It's nearly curtain up, sir.
Yes, I know, Adams. Shan't be long. Hello, Smithy.
It's Mr. Gillian, Miss Laurier.
Bobby? I'll let him in.
Hello, darling. Surprise, surprise.
Hello, what is it, Bobby? I'm going on in 2 minutes.
This won't take 2 minutes. Smooth the powder on your right ear a little. That's better. Now, Lotta, my love, what do you say to a little thing in the bracelet line? Diamonds. I can stand 3 ciphers with a figure 1 in front of them.
Oh, Bobby! Oh, darn my makeup. You ruined it. I'll fix it, Smithy.
Hold still, then.
A bracelet. Oh, what fun. Smithy, where's my right glove? I say, Bobby, did you see that necklace Della Stacy had on the other night? $5,000 it cost at Tiffany's. Oh, but of course, Smithy, my right glove.
Hold still while I fix your face.
Bobby, I'm not suggesting...
No, darling, of course not.
I'll be quite happy with a cheaper one, truly. All right, that'll do, Smithy. Now get that right glove. Bobby, where are you going?
Off, sweetie.
Bobby?
Sorry, sweetie. A man's entitled to change his mind. Wait for me, driver.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see Mr. Tolman for a minute. No more than a minute.
Miss Gillian's had...
I know, I saw him just this morning. I should like to see him again this afternoon. Now, it really won't take a minute.
This way, sir.
Thanks, I know my way. Don't let me hold you up. I expect you're doing something awfully useful. I'll show myself in.
Oh, but, sir...
What the... Oh, you again.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tolman. I'm sorry to turn on a Melville act like this, but there's something I'm not quite clear about. Do you mind if I ask you a question, Mr. Tolman?
Well, Mr. Gillian?
Under his will, my uncle made no other provision for Miss Hayden than the ring and £100, right?
None.
Absolutely none?
Absolutely none.
Well, now, one more question. Have you any notion of Miss Hayden's plans?
I understand she will be moving out of the late Mr. Septimus Gillian's house today. Beyond that, no notion.
Oh, still another question. Awfully sorry, Mr. Tolman. Is Miss Hayden aware of the full terms of my uncle's will?
Miss Hayden was informed of those elements of the will which affect herself. I interviewed Miss Hayden in this very room not an hour after seeing you, and delivered into her hands her inheritance in full.
And there's an end of it, eh?
So far as Tolman are concerned, decidedly.
Well, I thank you very much, sir. Good day.
You want me to wait, sir?
Well, I'm hanged if I'll walk back to the station. Hang on a minute. I'd better check on the petty cash. I may have to walk. Yes, the exchequer will just about cover it. Wait, please, driver.
Very good, sir.
Hello, Miss Hayden.
Oh, it's you.
Afraid so. May I drop in for a minute?
It's your house, Mr. Gillian.
I wish you meant it. Oh,
I
that
beg
is
your pardon?
Yes, I'll drop in for a minute.
I thought that must be my cab.
No, it's mine, but anything I have is yours. That is,
If you'll excuse me, Mr. Gillian, I have a train to catch quite soon.
Yes, of course. I know I'm an ass, and how much it irritates you.
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, yes, and you're quite right. The fact is, though,
Yes?
look, couldn't you stop disapproving of me long enough to call me Bobby? I mean, just this last once. I mean,
Bobby.
Well, that is absolutely wonderful. I love the way you say that. In fact,
I really do have a train to catch, Bobby.
I know. And I wish... That is, what are you going to do, Miss Hayden?
Harriet. I'll manage.
Yes, but how? I mean, well, from what I can understand, all you've ever done is look after an aged parent and then my aged uncle and... Well...
Don't you start. I've spent the last 3 days talking myself out of being scared stiff about the future. I'll manage.
Yes, but...
Bobby, look, I don't want to sound earnest and pompous and all those things just now when I'm leaving, but I just don't have time to chatter. My cab's practically due.
Well, actually, I didn't come out to waste your time in chatter, Harriet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant...
Actually, I came out to save Mr. Tolman a trip.
Mr. Tolman?
I've just come from old Tolman's. The fact is, they've been going over the papers down there, Harriet, and they found an amendment or a postscript or something to the will.
Oh?
Yes, it seems the old boy loosened up a little on second thoughts, and he willed you an extra 1,000.
What?
Seeing time was so short, I told Tolman that I'd bring it up to you. I've got it right here, and... I say, you all right? Harriet!
Oh, dear. I must have fainted. I'm awfully sorry.
Oh, that's all right, sweetie. Come on, drink this.
Thank you. You're really awfully kind, Bobby.
Well, it's awfully easy to be kind to you, Harriet.
£1,000. You mustn't think I care too much for money. But it does make all the difference.
Does it?
Of course, don't you see? I mean, it isn't a lot of money to a rich man like you, but me... It gives me a chance to look around. See what I could possibly do with my life. Train for something, perhaps. Oh, yes, all the difference.
I'm glad.
It sets me free. For the first time in my life, I'm free.
I'm so glad, Harriet. Oh, if you'll sign this receipt, I'll see Mr. Tolman gets it.
Thank you. There. Oh, that sounds like my cab.
I expect it is. Now, there's the money. Still sealed in Mr. Tolman's envelope. Oh, you'd better count it to see if it's right.
Don't be silly. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for bringing me such good news. And the money. Now, I really must go.
Harriet?
Yes?
I suppose... Well, that is... Well, I presume you know I love you.
I'm sorry, Bobby. I really am.
It's no use?
Afraid not, Bobby. I'm sorry.
I was afraid of that. That'll be your cab.
Yes.
Nothing's ever likely to change your mind, I suppose.
It isn't my mind, Bobby. It's just that I don't love you.
Oh, well, you're quite right, of course. Well, I'll help you out with your bags.
Oh, there's only one, and the driver can do it.
Well, in that case, I'll borrow a sheet of paper and an envelope from the bureau. I've a small account to render. Oh, you'd better go. Goodbye, Harriet.
Goodbye, Bobby.
Be happy, healthy, and fortunate, Harriet. You deserve it.
You're a nice boy, Bobby. If only... But we are what we are, aren't we? Take care of yourself.
Goodbye, Harriet.
Bye, Bobby. Just that bag, thanks, driver.
Paid by the Black Sheep, Robert Gillian, on account of the happiness owed by heaven to the nicest girl on earth. 1,000 pounds. Well, there it is, Mr. Tolman. In that sealed envelope, I render my account of the modus operandi of the complete and utter disposal of £1,000.
Already? Before the close of one working day? You have worked fast.
There's quite a feeling of summer in the air, don't you think, Mr. Tolman?
£1,000 in less than 8 hours. Incredible, quite incredible.
Well, I'll be off, Mr. Tolman. Here's the account, and there's an end of it.
Not so fast, if you please, Mr. Gillian.
Eh?
Before I open this envelope that contains your accounting, I must tell you that there was a codicil to your uncle's will.
Oh, you don't say.
Oh, but I do indeed. It was entrusted to me privately, with instructions not to disclose it to you until you had furnished us with a full account of your handling of the £1,000 bequest.
Well, carry on. And make it snappy, will you? I've an awful lot to do.
Now, I will not confuse you by resorting to the usual legal phraseology. I shall merely acquaint you with the spirit of the contents. Mr. Gillian, if your disposition of that £1,000 demonstrates that you possess any qualifications that deserve recognition, then much benefit will accrue to you.
Benefit? What do you mean?
My partners and I are named as judges, and somehow we are not at all unfavourably disposed towards you, Bobby. If your disposal of the money has been prudent, wise, or unselfish, it is in our power to hand over to you bonds to the value of £500,000.
What? Do you mean I'm rich?
However, if you have used this money as you have always used money in the past, I quote the late Mr. Septimus Gillian, in reprehensible dissipation among disreputable associates, the £500,000 is to be paid to Harriet Hayden, ward of the late Mr. Gillian, without delay.
To Harriet?
Now, Mr. Gillian, I shall take your accounting, still sealed, to open it in the presence of my other partners. I hope you will repose confidence in our decision. Mr. Gillian?
Yes?
I said I shall now take the...
No, you don't. Give me that.
What on earth are you doing?
I've changed my mind.
No, give me that envelope.
Oh, it's quite all right, Mr. Tolman. There's no need to bother you with it. I might as well tear it up, in fact.
Tear it? Bobby, what are you doing?
I'm saving you some work. Look, you'd probably never understand these itemized bets, Mr. Tolman. You never go to the races, do you?
Races? You lost the money at the races?
Yes, I'm afraid so. Yeah. Well, I must be off. This has been quite a day, Mr. Tolman. Quite a day.
The world of O.Henry was a fascinating forum in which the poor and the wealthy, the sad and the gay, rubbed shoulders in the most diverting fashion. Each had a story to tell. This was one of them. Brought to you in the O.Henry Playhouse.
This was an Artransa production written by Kay Keavney and directed by Jim Bradley.